This is Yuna
and Hannah.
and welcome back to the first official episode of our podcast, Express Yourself.
If you're new here in this podcast, we're going to talk about topics surrounding mental illnesses and mental health in an effort to help those that are struggling to understand that they're not alone and help guide them to reach out for help.
So we started this podcast to educate and spread more awareness on mental illnesses and the importance of mental health. We'll be posting at the end of every month on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Anchor.
So we'll make sure to update you guys on upcoming episodes on our social media and our website. You'll find us on Facebook at Express Yourself Podcast, no spaces, and Instagram at Express Yourself PC. Our website is linked in both of our social medias if you're interested in more information. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about the toxicity of mental illnesses. As you guys may know, there are different types of toxic parts of mental illnesses or mental health problems other than the actual disorders themselves.
So today we will be covering the topics of risks of self-diagnosing and social media's effects on mental illnesses, as well as toxic relationships' effects on mental health. So to start off, I'll begin with self-diagnosing mental illnesses and its problems. So I can't say that I've never done this, as it's been a pretty big thing for people to freak out over a small injury and result in thinking that they have a huge untreatable disease after a bit of searching on Google. Although my example was a physical health diagnosis, this definitely strongly relates to mental illnesses as well. There are so many problems regarding self-diagnosing, as there are endless forms and types of mental illnesses, from depression to PTSD to anxiety and even to schizophrenia.
So what is self-diagnosing, you may ask? So self-diagnosing is when you identify a condition to your own without a professional, normally happening through Googling your symptoms. It is very likely that self-diagnosing is wrong, so it's especially risky if your symptoms are common in many other types of medical conditions. Like, say you have simple abdominal pain from overworking your muscles or just consuming lactose as a lactose intolerant person like me, and having something like appendicitis come up as a possible condition on Google. So appendicitis is when your appendix is inflamed, which is extremely dangerous when ruptured, and it's very likely to cause a life-threatening inflammation, which is just completely off from just needing to run to the restroom from, say, eating the wrong food.
The problem with self-diagnosing is not just that it's bad. It can be very dangerous and life-threatening. A misdiagnosis can cause you to accidentally overlook certain symptoms, as you don't associate those with the condition that you believe you have. So, for example, you may see a certain symptom and relate it to a certain condition, overlooking a possible different condition that you may also have. This is very common in people with anxiety disorders, as it may cover up depressive disorders, which can also be very dangerous.
So no matter what, the internet will always show some of the more serious conditions when searching through a symptom. So although it's great to be aware of your mental health and try to research on your own, attempting to diagnose yourself does not achieve the best results. One of the problems can also be caused by your disregard and denial of some of the symptoms you may be facing.
Other problems can be related to how a variety of conditions can actually just be an illness, just like how depression has symptoms of sleep deprivation and ADHD, but you may think that you have all three of depression, sleep deprivation, and ADHD. The problem with this is that you may start treating illnesses and conditions that you actually don't have, further causing more stress as well as slowing down the treatment for the condition that you actually do have. It is always possible for you to accidentally worsen your symptoms through a wrongful self-diagnosis.
So this can include taking the wrong medicine. But at the end, it is great to attempt to seek and be aware of your mental illnesses and do some basic research on the internet. But it's just very necessary for you to check in with a professional to confirm your findings in order to prevent a worsening impact of the conditions that you actually may be facing. So if you ever think that you may need help, always check in with the doctor for a diagnosis and the treatments that follow up.
So let's talk about social media. I think that Hannah and I have covered a bit of this in our introductory episode, where we mentioned our own experiences with social media's negative impacts on us. Social media has always been a technology that was meant to bring people closer together in a quick and easy way. But spending too much time on social media has definitely caused people to feel more lonely and isolated. This can easily be the beginning of some mental health problems like anxiety and depression.
So obviously there are the very well known positive effects of social media. So it like allows like people to keep up and communicate with people all over the world, such as long distance friends and families. You can easily seek help and have emotional support during tough times. However, there are definitely some long term consequences to the use of social media.
So, to start off, there may be feelings of inadequacy about your appearance or your life in general, actually. Everyone knows that editing photos to look better or make your life look better is a very common thing. But even with knowing, it can still take into account, like, into making you feel insecure, whether that is about your looks or what you're doing with your life. Always think about how people will only post about their best possible parts of their lives and leave out the low points.
And one of the other things you may feel from social media is well known as FOMO. So FOMO stands for fear of missing out. And I personally use it as a joke when I talk to my friends sometimes or hanging out and we're having fun and like say like I couldn't attend the social event. However, this is a real thing that can cause you to feel insecure and trigger your anxiety as it makes you feel the necessity to continue to check in on your friends' activities rather than focusing on what you're currently doing. This can cause you to put more importance onto your social media interactions rather than your real world relationships. Yeah.
So conversely, there have been very many various researches done showing that the use of social media really does increase the feelings of isolation and loneliness. Prioritizing social media interactions over in-person relationships will more likely put you in risk for developing mood disorders such as anxiety and depression.
And other emotional scars that may occur are from cyberbullying. So, apart from internal thoughts and worries, there are and can be hate from social media platforms that leave lasting emotional scars, causing mental health issues. Self absorption can also impact you negatively, as you may lose yourself from real life connections.
Lastly, of our topics that we're covering today, something that's very common but underlooked is the effect that toxic relationships and friendships have on one's mental health. It's crucial to spot the early signs and symptoms of toxic relationships that can lead to stress and future development of mental health issues.
So, a cross sectional data of the Irish longitudinal study on aging was analyzed. So, the analytical sample consisted of 4,988 communities dwelling adults ages longer than or greater than 50 years in their spouse/partner relationships. So, there were scales on how the spouse was feeling, and questions were asked throughout the study in order to help assess mental health outcomes of relationships. So, multivariable logistical regressions were also used to assess the association between social relationships along with depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation.
The results of the study found that toxic or negative partner interactions were significantly associated with the increased likelihood of depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation.
So, how can we prevent these interactions or handle the situation?
Firstly, you have to be aware of possible toxic patterns that may be occurring throughout the relationship. Are the small things triggering them to engage in physical or emotional abuse, but they're coming back and promising that it's never going to happen again? Does the same process occur time after time? How are they acting towards you? Is it out of the ordinary? Being self aware is so important when it comes to toxic relationships. Not only that, seeking out for support or help whenever it's urgent is also very, very crucial. Your friends, family, or even therapists can be your outlet.
Yeah, so when it comes to toxic friendships or relationships, it's also very important to set boundaries. So, drawing a line to what you can tolerate and what is okay can actually save you from suffering your mental health and mentality as a whole. So, Dr. Dan Brennan, MD, explains that setting boundaries can build greater self esteem, clear up your values and belief systems, bring focus to yourself and your well being, enhance your mental health or emotional well being, and it can even help you avoid burnout.
Let's trail back a little bit. What is a toxic person?
So, a toxic person is someone who's difficult and causes a lot of conflict in your life. So that can include someone that's inflicting stress and giving you an overall bad experience. It can range from emotional to even physical pain.
Although many times the toxic person might also be dealing with stress or overall trauma on their own, it really reflects off of their presentation when it comes to other people. Some things to look out for if you think that you may be surrounding yourself with someone toxic, according to WebMD, is that if you feel like you're being manipulated into something you don't want to do, you're constantly confused by the person's behavior, you feel like you deserve an apology that never comes, you always have to defend yourself to this person. You never feel fully comfortable around them, and you continually feel bad about yourself in their presence.
So when it comes to these individuals, like we said before, you have to set boundaries, confront them, and cut them out of your life. Even though it sounds really straightforward and you may not come with pleasant reactions from the other person, it's the most efficient way to protect yourself along with your mental health. And I personally skip the confrontation part unless it's necessary because I'm not that good with confrontation, but it just shows that you can still set boundaries if you struggle with something similar to me. So the decisions are all up to you at the end of the day.
It's very crucial to take care of yourself even when you don't get caught up in a toxic relationship. Take that nap if you physically can't stay up that any longer. Ignore that text if you're too tired to reply.
Right, so if you can't take care of yourself, you won't be able to take care of others as well. And remember, you are the most important person to yourself. Don't sacrifice your mental or even physical health for others or for relationships that aren't benefiting you.
It can be toxic when it comes to your mental health sometimes, but there is always available resources and individuals out there that can and are willing to help you. And since it's almost the end of September, Suicide Prevention Month, we want to highlight that if you're struggling and feeling suicidal, please text or call the number 988. It's the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline.
It is really never too late to seek others for help. If you're having a bad day, a bad week, or even a bad year, that is completely okay. Release your emotions, express how the situation is affecting you to someone that can help you. Bottling up is never a good solution. Remember that happiness would not be as valuable as it is if it wasn't for opposite emotions like sadness or anger.
We really hope you guys enjoyed listening to our first official episode of Express Yourself. We will do our best to create a safe space for everyone here, and we hope that you guys stick around for upcoming episodes we plan on releasing.
Not only that, we hope you guys learned something from today, and remember to follow us on our social medias and check out our website for more information. We hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night. So stay safe and take care. Bye.
Bye.